the other thing that makes me want to get into the book YouTubing game is that there's that series that was just the first one was just made into a movie that is based off of One Direction fanfic on Wattpad, and I am like obsessed with this idea of somebody writing One Direction fanfiction and then getting it published and then getting a movie made out of it.
Oh my god. This sounds like just a pile of nightmares.
That only works if they actually cast One Direction in it.
They didn't. And they just like from what I understand, they completely took it out. Like they just did the like, let's rename the people different things. And then they made a movie out of it. And I'm like, but it's fan fiction about real people.
Press E on the chickens, they give you eggs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
How long have you played that?
Oh, like an hour.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Hour and a half, maybe.
I passed the 3-hour mark earlier today.
Also, I'm all in on fish, so I
do fish a lot too. Have you gotten the cooking stuff yet?
No, I mean I have a mill and I have a forge for cooking bread and fish, so I'm just starting the farming.
Okay, cool. Because you can make sushi out of the fish and seaweed.
Ah, cool.
That's like my favorite in terms of getting back both energy and
health. Yeah,
and health. Yeah, because it takes one fish and one seaweed, and then it like restores one health and a decent amount of energy.
Nice.
The bread's good too.
I agree with that. I haven't even played that game. Bread is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do cooked fish too. That's pretty easy.
Well,
I haven't learned that yet, but I will.
Yeah, if you take the skill point in fishing, then you get cooked fish.
I need to do that because I have a bunch of fish traps set up, so like I might as well.
I only have like 5 of them, but they go so fast with that skill that it's like I don't need more than that.
I just unlocked markets, which is really good because I can sell shit now.
We have one Chris Edgerton in the chat.
Hi, Chris.
He says hi. So hi.
Hi.
Are we waiting on anybody else, or is it just us?
I'm just trying to finish my cereal. I'm almost done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
No worries.
Sam is dead because of Mary Poppins, and
Yes, Mary Poppins killed Sam.
And Erica is probably still in cram school.
Yes, cram school.
That's what my students are doing this week. It's fucked up. It's Golden Week. They still have to go to class and club activities.
Yep.
Messed up.
And then when they get out of school, they have to work 1,700-hour days.
But man, Alex, I'm so glad that you read that review because I spent way too much time just like pouring my thoughts into it. So I'm glad that somebody at least like.
I just saw it come up in my email and I'm like, wow, this is like a well-written, what is this? Oh, it's Allison. Oh, it's a terrible book. Yeah, it was well written. It was funny.
Thank you. Also, names of every character is like terrible. The end. Okay.
All right.
The two, like in their love triangle, the two main character, or like the main character's name is America Singer, and she's a singer, so it works.
Okay.
And
did she change her name?
I'm not sure that's the thing that makes it work.
Then there's the Prince dude who everybody's competing for, who's Maxine Shreve.
Why isn't he named Maxim Prince if she's American Singer?
You know, that's a good question. And then
because he's upper class.
Other dude that she's in love with is like her childhood friend named Aspen.
Right.
Aspen is
that's a name. That's a normal name that some people have.
Some people have it, but it's. I'm just, but it's
also the name of a city. I think they go there in Dumb and Dumber.
They do. They do go there.
Colorado. Okay. Hello and welcome to the world's most preeminent podcast on video games recorded across multiple time zones, across the US and Canada and the Pacific Ocean. I am your host, Andre Cole. I am joined today by Alex Galinas.
All of the Persona news this week sucked.
Maybe Pat. No, he's busy. Allison.
Just how many people named James do you think have started a show called Video James?
Many.
And our resident James, Pat Cotter.
Hello. I just planted some wheat seeds, so now I'm ready to start the show.
Okay. And the DEA will be here in approximately an hour and 20 minutes. So let's get started.
There is an island that costs 420 gold near me.
No, they'll be at my apartment for the mention of the reefer.
It's a more serious offense for you.
Yes. So I believe people have played some video games this week.
They have.
But
That's cool.
Yo, that Persona news sucked.
Yeah.
I know you like Dynasty. I know you like Dynasty Warriors, but Persona.
I don't want to hear. No, it's cool. I'm sorry. We are not going to say, "Oh, it's so amazing that they made a dancing game," and then not that they made a Dynasty Warriors game.
Okay,
those dancing games are bad.
But
So
both
Yeah,
of them
they
are
are.
neat kinds of things, and they're both cool. That's what I'm saying.
Dynasty, there's so many different like Muso games.
There's so many different dancing games
Not really.
and rhythm games. It's really just a rhythm game.
Yeah,
it is, and it's a bad rhythm game.
games.
But like,
they're
bad
fine.
game.
But Persona's
No, it's not
music
fine.
is really great.
yeah, Persona's really known for its music, so that makes sense. It's not really known for its ability to beat up a whole shit ton of guys at once.
Yeah, it is.
Not at
All in
once.
attacks.
That's like
That's
four
I just
dudes.
don't like Dynasty Warriors, and that's why
That's
you're
like
not.
four
I mean, I
dudes
think
at
it's fine. I play Hyrule Warriors.
Okay, so here's my question. Did they confirm it's Persona 5 only?
I don't know. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
it's Persona 5.
Because like if you're gonna make a Muso
Yeah, it's
game,
called Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers. So yeah, it is Persona.
that seems like it needs to be like a Persona 4, Persona 3, hell, even Persona 1 and 2. I have not played those games, so I don't know if that would actually make sense. But like that should be a Persona 4 arena type thing where it brings in the other games.
Honestly, why not? When I mean, like they've done it before with Persona Q, so why not just have it be? And like, the only Muso game I've really gotten into is Hyrule Warriors, and they do the whole like, oh, we're just gonna mix every universe together.
Which is what they should do.
Bananas.
I think like given the number of spin-offs they've done from like the rhythm games to Persona Q to the fighting game, like I don't think this is that far afield from those things.
So here's the thing where like they're gonna make a Muso game. It's whatever to me. Like, you know, I'm not interested. But they screwed up. That they teased Persona 5S for so long. And everyone's like, oh, well, it's going to come to the Switch. It's got to come to the Switch. Preeminent thing with an S in the name.
Also, after having
Persona
Joker
5 on the Switch. Joker and Smash.
Yeah.
And so they walked into that. If they called it Persona 5M and as like the code name, and then they're like, okay, it's Persona 5 Muso. Okay.
I guess I just
or if they call it Persona 5 SS for Scramble Strikers or whatever.
I hear what everyone is saying, and I'm not people on this show. Maybe I believe more than others, but I have a hard time believing that people are going to play through. People who have already played through Persona 5 on PS4 are going to also play it again on Switch and then play it again on an enhanced version on PS4. I believe that you will do it, Allison, but like,
So I played like about half Persona 5 this year, and then I stopped because I was like, oh wait, shit, Persona 5 R. So I'll probably restart Persona 5 R next year. But like because the rumor that Allison was saying was out there was that the Persona 5 on Switch was just going to be vanilla Persona 5.
That was what the rumors were.
Why would you even get that if you
totally? Yeah,
it would. Yeah, and I mean, like, to be fair,
that'd be stupid.
It would be dumb if they did that. However, I would buy both.
I would I would kick you off this podcast.
I'm sure that there are people who would buy both, but I find it hard. I trust you, Allison, but I find it hard to believe if most people that I know said, yes, I played a 100-hour JRPG. I know you can beat it in less than that, but I played a approximately 70 to 100-hour JRPG 2 years ago, and I'm going to play that same game again this year, and then again on the same console I played it the first time on next year. I would kind of be like, really? You're really going to do that? You're going to play it for 10 hours on Switch and then play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, true, but like,
if it was just vanilla Persona 5, that would be absolutely bonkers. Totally.
I mean, they should bring that Persona 5R to Switch as well.
Yeah,
there's nothing stopping. I mean, if you can put Mortal Kombat on Switch, there's nothing stopping you from releasing Persona 5.
And I mean, if you can put vanilla Persona 5 on Switch, then what's the content that's going to stop you from putting the R content on Switch as well?
Yep.
Sony publishing deal.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the only thing, but
if that's the thing, but I don't know. That Persona news. Was there any other news, or Alex? You were the one who wanted to bring that up.
There wasn't anything that interesting other than the Mortal Kombat kind of hubbub that got kicked up, but then they were like, oh, it's actually not as bad as you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can talk about that in a bit. I mean, there is the fact that NetherRealm also has really unhealthy crunch lifestyle, like workplace.
That was the thing that came out.
That's kind of the thing. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that we shouldn't talk about that, but I was surprised that people were surprised at that, because that is how, as I understand it, with having followed the industry for a long time and had a lot of friends that have worked in the industry, that is the vast majority of AAA studios operate that way, at least in this country and in a lot of other countries too. So like, it's not that makes it okay. And obviously we should be talking about it. And I'm glad that people were talking about it who had experience there. But as I saw a lot of people like, oh, but I love Ed Boon, I'm kind of like, okay, but Ed Boon works for a company that works for a major media publisher and all of the above like money. So like, that's, of course they have a culture like that there. So it's unfortunate. And, it's great because as people talk about it more and more, hopefully it means that unionization and other labor rights tools will become more and more supported. But at the same time, like, I guess I would say, like, assume that the major publisher and studio that you're thinking about does that. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt, especially if they're in a capitalist country. Yep,
agreed. But no, the only other piece of news that we can skip right on past is that Days Gone came out this week.
I know multiple people who are still like, who cares? It's going to be great. And they, I'm sure, will love it. I bet most people that play that game will love that game.
Before I saw Avengers Endgame, we're not going to talk about it, by the way, because spoilers.
Oh yeah.
I think all of us in here have seen that, by the way.
Yeah, but anybody watching maybe hasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a spoiler cast later, maybe. But before I saw it, there was a trailer for Days Gone, and people in my theater seemed kind of excited, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I think this is going to be that game is going to be one of those things. I bet it'll sell great. I bet people will enjoy it. It's a 60-hour open world game.
When I heard that, I was like, "What? Why?" Absolutely,
it makes me repulsed even more by it. But
I wanted to play it just based on the setting, but now I'm like, oh. After hearing Patrick Klepek talk about it.
Yeah, it sounds.
Oh yeah, that review was.
It sounds just like an awful game, but it's also one that sounds like it's only a little bit incompetent gameplay wise, and that the rest of its problems are all in like pacing and the general blahness of everything around it, and then also some of the grossness of the character and the story. So that's the kind of stuff that most people who buy games will go, well, I mean, it's shades of gray, of course. This shows that not everything is good in an apocalypse. Yeah. So that garbage will probably just
everything he does is just bad.
Yeah, but
yeah.
But they justify like 50 hours into the 60-hour game why he sold someone into slavery. Like,
is that a real thing, or are you?
No. But like, I just
wouldn't be surprised.
At one point, he like basically sells somebody into slavery. And I don't know.
He's just like, sorry, bye.
So the way Patrick Klepek, Waypoint, described it was He sells this woman to slavery, and then shortly after, he gets like a call on his radio from this woman, and she's like, "They won't let me leave," like blah blah blah. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And like, and basically just like, I don't know what's going on. That doesn't sound so bad to me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just
over or mission complete.
Yeah, no, and I just wouldn't be surprised if like later in the game there's some scene where it's like where he's like, where
he goes in and kills everyone in the labor camp, both laborers and
and it's like, oh, he got it right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I will still probably play that game if it like comes to PS Plus within the year or something like that. I'm not going to spend any real amount of money on it, but I am a little curious at the train wreck of it. But I bet it'll be one of those games where people rally behind it as like this is why we don't need critics thing, because like they got this wrong. People love this game and they said it's bad.
Maybe. But they're going to do, what was it? Was it Anthem, who they had the ads that was just a bunch of tweets?
Yeah.
It was a different game.
I did not see that.
All their pull quotes were all just tweets.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I've started to see that. I've also seen books advertised.
No, was it Justice League or something?
So Aquaman they did that with for sure.
I feel like Justice League, all of their quotes were tweets.
They always put the little Twitter logo underneath it.
Yeah.
When it's a tweet. And that happens with movies more and more now.
It's so funny. So make stuff that critically holds up, and you don't have to be like a fan to like.
Especially because it sounds like this game's problems aren't, the most egregious of its issues aren't like that it's horribly made so much as it's poor writing and tonal stuff that they very much could have changed course on. It sounds like
kind of like Detroit Become Human.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I think that's just David Cage sucks.
There was a hot take going around recently that was basically, it was about sci-fi and it was basically the equivalent of David Cage's. It's like Blade Runner, but if the replicants were the good guys.
Yeah.
There was a whole like thing about basically that. It was like, whoa, oh my God, have you ever read sci-fi? But now video James, Alex, hi. What James have you been playing?
I've not been playing a ton of James this week. I've been doing a lot of programming this week. So we can talk all about object-oriented programming if you really wanted, and like how to make higher order functions out of closures. But I did play about 3 hours of the same game I played last week, which was Supraland. And I know that you also played a bit of that.
Yeah, I played like the first hour or so of it.
A couple hours of it myself too.
Yeah.
I got the MacGuffin under the crystal.
Yep.
And then I jumped out of the tower, and then the game was like demo over. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but it is a fairly generous demo actually, especially because
you do a lot of stuff, and it like lets you, if you buy the game, you can just pick up from that point. But I don't have money, so
that's basically what I did. I'm about 7 hours in. I have 3 MacGuffins now, and like with my last play session, which was about 3 hours before that, I finally hit the first puzzle where I just got totally stuck. I was just like,
that's cool.
I have no idea what to do. Like, I had to step away from it, just sleep on it, come back the next day, and finally come back to it and be like, oh, that's what it wants. And it's really neat because it's like one of my favorite parts of Portal is when it recontextualizes itself and you start looking at the environment differently. You're like, oh, I can actually use this stuff in a different way that wasn't like, it wasn't surfaced before. I was like, oh, I'm looking at all these objects in the environment and being like, oh, okay.
To an extent, I kind of feel like that's Supraland's whole thing. Not to be reductive at all, because it's great at it and that's a great feeling. So I mean that positively, but that's kind of like, from what I have played so far, it's like, more and more you just see how you can bend the world as you play it, which is very neat. I'm really enjoying it. And the thing I'm impressed by with it is like, from a tone and writing perspective, it skates so close to the edge of something that I would really not like. Like the whole concept of like calling the tools MacGuffins and like the dialogue, which isn't extensive, but it's there. And like the fact that like there are all these stick figures and stuff, like all of that stuff is not a thing I would normally be interested in. Like when I saw this game first come out and saw it in like my Steam discovery queue, I pretty quickly just clicked away from it because I was kind of like, whatever. It wasn't until I saw that it was getting such positive reviews that I went back to look at it. And playing it, it's like it slides into a place that is like really, really enjoyable from a tone and writing perspective and visually that I didn't think it would be able to do for me, which is really cool.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost at jazz punk levels in terms of just how absurd it gets with its humor, but like not quite there. It takes itself a little bit more self-seriously than that.
Like everything I saw was just like movie reference, TV show reference, movie reference, video game reference, TV show reference. So that's encouraging to hear that if it gets kind of to that point, if it does more of like its own thing, I don't know if that's what you're implying, but if it kind of gets its own humor in there.
It's a little less referential than it is in the opening hour or two. Yeah, for sure. As you go on.
Yeah. Once you're like 3 or 4 hours in, there's still a few references. Like one of the, I don't know if you want to call it like a hidden object, like one of the collectibles you find is like fallen heroes, which are just direct references to other video games. Like there's one with a dude who's dressed all in green and has a green cap, and
that was the first one I found.
And I think that some of those things I'm actually kind of okay with because I think it does them in an earnest and kind of clever way that isn't just like, you've played this thing, right? That's how they've hit me anyway a lot of times, but it also doesn't lean on that stuff as heavily the more it goes forward.
I think with the aesthetic of the game being like, oh, it's this kid's sandbox or whatever, it kind of makes sense. Like there are other toys or whatever. So that's kind of neat.
And I should say I had a boss battle. So it has those, which and I thought it was actually a really clever boss battle. So
I like the way that the combat works, even though it's very simple. I like, especially when you get that first MacGuffin, it kind of changes your approach to certain enemies, but not to other ones. And then as you get upgrades, it almost has a sort of like clicker-like feel to the combat because you start to do more damage and the numbers just kind of go up that way. And obviously if that was the focus of the game, it would not be very good. But since it's sort of a side piece to the puzzle solving, I think it's kind of fun, satisfying break between.
And you can upgrade that first MacGuffin in a way that makes combat like extremely easy, which is actually really cool.
I'm looking at the store page and I can see what you're talking about.
I don't know what that screenshot is, but I'm gonna say that's probably it.
It's also another interesting thing about it is like when I was coming into it, it was sort of like a I really hope that that I don't get spoiled on the stuff in this game. But I actually think it's really hard to spoil the game because it's so hard to really explain individual spoilery-ish kind of things, like it's really interesting.
I think it's like the puzzle solving and stuff is very similar to like a Portal. The writing is not on that level, at least where I'm at. But I think like the way you're maneuvering around the environments and doing stuff is like it scratches that itch. Like obviously the puzzles are very different, but like
I think the
distinct areas to solve these puzzles.
I think the writing matters less than it does in Portal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when people talk about Portal, they part of Portal is their writing, and so just to make it clear, like if you go into this expecting Portal writing, you are not going to get that.
I mean,
as far as I have seen.
It's also tonally, it's really just that it's kind of it's doing the same things to your brain that Portal does in terms of like needing to find creative ways to solve
like the puzzle solving is the writing is not.
Like I was saying, I think it was last week, I think a good way to kind of tell it to people is it's kind of like a mix of Portal, the Talos Principle, and The Witness.
Yes. I think that
it's a Metroidvania Portal game.
I would say, as someone who was, I don't want to discredit Portal because Portal's a phenomenal game, but as someone who about about as far into Portal as I am into Supraland. I was kind of like, well, the robot's going to be evil, and it's just going to be a bunch of really good puzzles strung together by some clever writing from this robot. And I don't want to. I mean, it's very clever writing, but like Portal doesn't really have a plot. It doesn't really have like it's a lot of like good one-liners over and over again.
Yeah.
Which, and again, they're very good. And the puzzle solving in Portal was like revolutionary without a doubt. So I don't want to seem like I'm dunking on Portal too hard, but I think that I don't think any other game that tries to do that will ever do it as well, including if they were to try to make a Portal 3 that's just like Portal 1. I don't think it would work again. Because that concept,
Valve can't make games in threes.
No.
Okay.
And to that point, like while I really liked the puzzle solving in Portal 2, I found the writing in it a lot less. Like I like Cave Johnson a lot, of course, because who doesn't? But I found the writing in that game less appealing than in the first game because it felt a little more predictable and not as it wasn't as fresh, I guess.
Sure, it was a known quantity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Supraland's super good. I'm going to keep diving into it. But yeah, if you guys want to talk about some advanced programming stuff, we can totally do that too.
We'll come back to it. You know, we want to let it breathe a little bit.
I would also say, I think Supraland seems like a really good value too, given that it's like $20 and it seems like it's a long game. Yeah.
I might pick that up. It sounds sounds neat.
I think you should play it, Allison, from what I've played. I think you would really like it.
Cool.
I think Erica should play it too.
I personally, I don't have any criticisms of it yet, really. Like I said, I've run into puzzles that have stumped me, and that's a good thing.
VSync just kills performance on my computer.
I haven't run into that.
It is a very
brutalized.
It's a very striking game to look at when you kind of.
It is.
It's got a very like, I don't want to say simple visual style, but it's very like the characters are all just like little like red outline kind of like silhouette people and like or blue silhouettes and then like little tiny weird skeleton people.
Yep.
It's all in the environments to me, and like the skybox for what it is, because the idea is it's all like super tiny or something. I don't really know for sure.
Well, I mean, the intro has you being put into, or maybe the boy is really big.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't know where it's gonna go.
Oh, okay. That's it. He's just real big.
The boy is real big.
But it's so interesting to look up and like see the house off in the distance, and it does such a good job of conveying the scale that you are versus the scale that the outside of the sandbox the world is.
Yeah. And it touches on some interesting religious topics, such as, do you think the boy really exists? I've never seen him. Have you?
Yeah, I don't know where that stuff is going to go or if it's going to have a point at all.
Man, you're making me really want to play this.
It's weird.
Yeah, it goes some interesting places. I like it.
I love that it's like, you're talking about this game like, oh, there's Portal stuff, but it's like, there's stuff, but then it gets into this religion stuff, and I'm like, what?
So I guess that's kind of why I want to be careful, because I haven't seen enough of it to like say that the writing isn't as good as Portal, because you're right that the dialogue is not written as well as GLaDOS is written.
Sure.
But this game potentially.
How many games are written that well, though?
Well, right, and this game potentially could go some, to me personally anyway, far more interesting places narratively than Portal ever did. I just don't know where it goes yet, so it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah. That's Supraland on Steam. You can check out a demo, which I did. It gives you about an hour of playtime, or it gives you up until the first MacGuffin thing. I don't know what it is. It must be the first MacGuffin, because that timing was too good to be accurate, or to be, to just happen like that. So now on to our next video game, or James. Pat.
My middle name is James.
Just like I said.
That's true though.
Just like I said, our resident video James, Pat.
At one point when I considered going by Jim instead of Pat when I was in like high school, and then I tried it and it's not good. So
Pat Jim.
I honestly just can't think of you as a Jim.
No, I know. Sorry. It's my grandpa's name, so I was kind of like, oh, that'd be cool. He was great. But then I just can't.
Did you go by like PJ?
I have also thought about going by SPJ before, and that doesn't work. It doesn't sound right to me either. It took a long time for me to be okay with Pat. In fact, like now I kind of prefer it. But when I was a kid, that was a no-go as well. You could not call me that or I'd get very upset with you. You had to call me by my full name or not at all.
Patrick James Carter?
Patrick James.
Well, no, just Patrick.
How about Rick? So just taking out the Pat.
Oh, that's the worst. No way. No.
Especially now.
You don't love Rick and Morty, Pat?
I hate Rick and Morty, but that's not even why I don't want to be called Rick. I just don't want it. I don't have a reason really. I just no. So I played a little bit more Kingdom Hearts, but we'll talk about that in a spoiler cast later.
Someday.
I picked up Kingdom Hearts 3 on sale this week, so I have the full collection now. I will say Birth by Sleep has probably been my favorite game in the series to play.
Pat owns more Kingdom Hearts than I do.
Yeah.
There was a new mode added to Kingdom Hearts, wasn't there?
Critical mode.
Yeah, difficulty mode.
I can get into that a little bit later.
Sure.
Yeah, cool. I'm interested. I may try to do everything in Kingdom Hearts 3 if it's good. I've already kind of been like,
I'll get into that.
Maybe later this year, if I can get through the games I want to play before the end of the year, maybe I'll go back and start platinuming all of the other Kingdom Hearts.
Jesus.
Oh no.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, other games.
I'm no longer the resident Kingdom Hearts fan.
The game that I kind of put, I guess, the most time into, although I only started playing it last night, so it's not the most time, but the one I wanted to talk about the most is the new Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat 11, which I also played MKX through this week, just because I never had finished that story before. So those story modes are MKX's story feeds really, really well into MK11. It definitely feels like the middle game, like the middle part of a 3-part story. I don't know that I think the story in MKX is that good. Like, I think the story in MK9 is better, and so far the story in MK11 is way better. But it's still a good setup game. So like, if you're waiting to buy MK11 for whatever reason and have, like, it's on Game Pass, for example, that's where I played it, and have access to MKX, it's a good one to get through. And it'll kind of accustom you to the pacing a little bit, even though the mechanics changed a fair bit between the two. But and nobody else has played Mortal Kombat 11, right?
No,
not yet.
Okay, I played 9 and 10.
Cool. It's a lot different than 10 in a lot of ways. Like, again, the pace and flow, like, it's the same basic, like, you have forward punch, back punch, forward kick, back kick, like 4-button system. But they've done so much to the way that meter works in that game that it feels very different to play, and it feels more like, I want to be careful with the term, but it feels more like lowercase a accessible. Like, it feels more like something that you could get into if you haven't played fighting games before. I say, as someone who I've always really wanted to get into fighting games, because it just, like, watching people play fighting games is so cool. But I've tried it with Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 and just couldn't get there. I tried it with Injustice and didn't really enjoy it. I played through the story in MK9, but never really went beyond that. But this game feels like it's much more, it's a great entry point into that genre beyond just being like a solid game to play for the story. Because it has the concepts, they sort of restructured how a lot of stuff works instead of building on it. Like, Street Fighter 5 is if you haven't been playing Street Fighter forever, you kind of have to, like, learn how Street Fighter works and then learn how Street Fighter 5 works. It's like 2 layers of complexity that are both pretty challenging to understand. Whereas MK11 is much more like, you have 2 meters. You have an offensive meter and a defensive meter. All you really use your offensive meter for is enhancing attacks. That's kind of it. I think there's one other thing you can do with it, but generally that's it. You just use it you push the enhance button on certain specials, and then you can enhance them. My favorite one so far is Liu Kang. People know his, like, bicycle kick thing.
Yeah. Yep.
He can, like, fly through the air and kick people, and he goes like, whoa. So if you hit the enhance button and, like, I mash it because I don't know the exact timing, but you can spend your meter to extend that, so you can basically just
sick.
like kick them all the way across the screen if it lands.
And he makes that sound the entire time.
Oh yeah.
I saw a Twitter video. It must have been in training mode because the person did that. He did the Liu Kang kick all the way across the screen, and then he kept doing it until the person died and just never stopped. So he was just in the air.
Yeah, that's definitely the training. That's definitely the training mode.
Oh, I love that.
It's really funny.
And then like your defensive meter, you have 2 bars of offensive meter and 2 bars of defensive meter, and your defensive meter is really just used for I don't even know how to do breakers. I'm not sure if combo breakers are a thing, but you definitely use it for like certain defensive abilities, like to get away, to do like rollouts from getting knocked down, to break away from juggles. And that stuff's a little harder to pull off, but you can definitely get there fairly easily. And then they totally took out X-rays. There in MKX, there was this X-ray system where you built your 3 levels of meter up, and then you could do a really powerful X-ray attack.
Yep.
So now that's instead called a fatal blow, and you get to do it 1 time per match when your health gets down to like 30%. And then it deals like about a third of the same amount. I mean, it deals like a third of their life or quarter of their life. It's a lot. But you can only do it 1 time per match. So like if you burn it in the first round, then you're not going to be able to use it again. And then there's also this kind of feeling of like, okay, I won the first round. The second round's not really going my way. If I can try to hold out and try to get them to use their fatal blow, then I know round 3, they won't have it. It's a weird kind of thing that actually like maps in my brain to MOBAs and trying to get people to burn abilities so that they won't have them in fights. And that's extremely satisfying to me. So I think that's part of why I've really liked that kind of back and forth aspect of it. You can learn all of this as someone who is far from a fighting game expert in a really, really, really good tutorial mode that they have built into the kind of learn section. It seems like you could probably spend several hours in that tutorial because they have multiple sets. Like there's basic tutorials, there's advanced that teach you just like the very basics of like dashing and canceling and that kind of stuff. And then there's more advanced tutorials that get into meter usage and like dash cancels and canceling into specials specifically. And then they even have a module in the advanced one that I actually haven't done yet that is more about concepts. So it goes into things like frame data and like iframes and like really, really specific stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it does it in a really it doesn't just throw text at you. Like it'll give you like 2 sentences of like, here's a concept. And then it might just have you do it, or it might have you like watch a thing. And if you're struggling, it'll come up with like more context of like, make sure you start your inputs right at this time or whatever. So it feels like they've done a really good job of teaching you by having you like do the thing a lot rather than just like, here's a pane of information about it and now practice it for a little bit if you want. It feels like really smart the way that they have you learn stuff. It's like sticking with me way better than any other fighting game tutorial has.
That's interesting because like I thought MK9 actually had a pretty decent tutorial system, and MK10 as well to a certain extent. But
yeah,
the problem I always had with it was it never contextualized it. It was like, here's how to do it, never why. This is why you should do it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that this totally solves that problem. However, it does. You know how in a lot of tutorials it'll be like, okay, now you've learned, so now fight Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
In this one, it'll give you specific objectives, and I think it's also tailoring the AI to try to put you into those positions where you will want to. The thing that I've found the most useful so far is in the advanced blocking tutorial, because I'm the kind of person that never blocks because I don't understand how you could possibly block attacks fast enough, basically. And like they spell it out clearly in this of like, some attacks have windups and you can see them coming, so you know when to block. But for the most part, you actually just have to anticipate what your opponent's going to do. So for the most part, blocking is not seeing that they're going to do a jab and blocking it in time. Like no one's that fast. And so it gives you scenarios of like, okay, so now the AI is going to come at you with different mix-ups of low attacks and overheads. So you need to watch for those and try to figure out when they're coming to know if you should be crouch blocking or doing a standing block. And that's more to what you're kind of talking about, and is really helpful for me, to the point where now, like, I'm still not good at it, but I think about blocking a little bit more. And I think about like, oh, okay, they're probably going to do a slide, so I should probably get down and block. And that's been really, really helpful to kind of grasp those concepts more. And then they have character tutorials for every character in the game too, that goes over all of their intricacies and specials, which is I mean, I don't think it's the kind of thing you would want to in one sitting play through the whole tutorial, because it would take you like 3 or 4 hours and it would be a lot to take in. But if you jump in, play the basic and advanced ones like what I did, and then from there kind of start doing some story and stuff, and then come back as you're interested in learning more, it's a really awesome tool. And I think it's a really good entry point for people. I was so like interested in going after playing MKX. I was excited enough about this game that I picked up a fight stick finally, which I'd wanted to do for a very long time. But I was really intimidated by the idea of like, well, do I buy an expensive one or do I buy a cheap one and then buy components and then get into like modding it, which I'm not comfortable with off the top, like from the jump. So I just happened to find a really, really good deal on the Razer Xbox One stick, which happens to be like all genuine Sanwa parts and stuff. So it's like a really high quality stick. And that's been super fun to kind of understand how to use that. It's like totally relearning how to play the game from having played MKX on a controller. But then on top of that, like the other thing that I'm most impressed by, like obviously the story, it seems good. I'm 4 chapters into it. I think it's about 20 chapters long. It's the longest of any of their games.
So you're 420. Got it.
I didn't even think of that, but sure. Yes. It seems really cool so far. Ronda Rousey fucking sucks as a voice actor. She's like terrible in the game.
You don't have to modify that. It's just,
well, she also fucking sucks, but I mean, to really make it clear, she is a terrible voice actress. Like,
is she Cassie? Really? I can't remember.
She's Sonya.
Oh, Sonya, gotcha.
Thankfully, she has not. You play as Cassie in the beginning of the game. I won't spoil too much, like who you play as in what chapter, but you play as Cassie in the beginning of the game, and there's a fair bit of Sonya stuff, but then it kind of, she doesn't talk as much, or she hasn't been talking as much since then. I don't know. It's really just that she's very flat. Like there's a part where like they're in trouble and she's like, Cassie, go, I'll stay here. And you're just like, you really don't have any emotion at all, do you, Rhonda? All you got is like fake angry. That's it. She's just a terrible voice actress. They could have gotten like literally anyone else. So it's so strange to me that they got her for that role. But anyway, story seems good. They do a cool thing that's really not a spoiler. I won't say who, but like in the past, they may do this in Injustice too. I don't know. I didn't play that one, but in like MKX, every chapter you play as a specific character. There are chapters in 11 where you're actually picking, like you play as 2 characters. Like it'll be like, Cassie and Sonya. That's not one of them I've seen, but Cassie and Sonya. And then for each fight, you actually pick which one you want to play as. And then it narratively kind of adapts to that and says like, okay, well, you go do this. So, you can kind of set it up for like, well, this is this character's brother. Of course I want them to fight each other.
I think MKX did that, didn't it?
No, not in the story. Doesn't have you ever choose between characters.
Doesn't?
No.
I thought it did.
Unless I'm blanking on it, even though it's possible.
I could have sworn, but I haven't played that game since it came out.
Having just played it a few days ago, I don't remember any point at which it's having you select characters. So yeah, that stuff is really cool. The other thing that I really like about this game, and is kind of the cherry on top for me in terms of, I think people who are interested in fighting games, but maybe not playing online or who are not very good at them should check this out, is it has just a whole world of like like grind, I guess is what I would say, but that sounds super negative. I don't really mean it that way. Like there's a whole world of stuff to do outside of the story that is single player focused. Like most of the game is single player focused. There's obviously you can play online, and there's going to be the I forget what they call it. It's not combat club, but like there's like a league, basically combat league, I think is what it is, where there'll be rankings and online play and all that stuff. But the towers are so extensive as to the way they work. And I know there's been some kind of flack, and people have kind of, I think it's super overblown, but people have kind of flipped out about the economy of the game. But ultimately what it means is that there's just like a whole world of single player stuff to do. And like you get dailies, kind of like if it was like a service game. So I booted it up last night, and my first daily was to play 4 matches as Cabal. So like the first thing I did after I went through a bit of the tutorial was just play some AI matches with Cabal to kind of get the hang of using the stick. And then I got like daily rewards for that. So it kind of like guides your single player play even outside of the story by a lot. And I think you could play this game for like hundreds and hundreds of hours single player. I also think that there was that number floating around that it would take you like 3,000 hours or something to unlock everything. Mm-hmm. I think that number is super bullshit, because the way they calculated that was by how quickly you get the paid currency by playing the game, which is the ridiculous way to calculate that number, because you don't, the way you get things is through coins, which are the in-game free currency, not the paid currency.
Yeah, because and like the stuff that like you use the paid currency on is just like a rotating like 5 items.
Yeah, it's like the Apex store. It's like don't buy stuff there. The crypt you get from doing your daily, you get enough coins just from doing that to open like I think to open like 10 chests in the crypt. I think the chests are 1,000 coins, but they might be 10,000.
It is annoying that the chests in the crypt are random now.
Sure.
Instead of like previous games where it was just like, okay, you go to this thing, you're going to get this stuff from the crypt. But
it does kind of make the crypt feel pretty kind of weird, and it's not perfect, but the other weird thing about the crypt is having a fight stick plugged in, you just can't do the crypt really, because you need the right stick for camera control, because it like controls like a third person game. So that part's kind of funny too, because you can definitely go in and like I went into the first room and then open the
second fight stick, but
it's fine. Like if I want to do crypt stuff, I'll just
bust out that elite controller.
Yeah, right. That's very nice as well. But I don't know. There's tons of stuff to do there, and the towers do cool things like, and people complained about this, but at some point, I don't know how to please everyone. It does cool things like you may have like how the Smash single player has
World
the
of Light
stuff. Yeah. In World of Light, it has the stage stuff where you need certain spirits. So like MK11 does that in the towers, where you need certain augments to survive or succeed at certain challenges more easily.
Injustice 2 did that.
Yeah. And so it leads to just some cool stuff. There's just a lot of cool, and like there's the classic towers where it's kind of like an arcade mode, and you get arcade mode endings for each character if you play through it. But then it also has these rotating towers of time where it'll be like, okay, for the next 6 hours, if you beat this challenge tower, you'll get this skin for Shao Kahn. And then you have 6 hours to try to beat that one. And then it rotates out and a different one comes in. And you could also pull all that stuff out of the random chests in the crypt. Or sometimes it shows up in the store for you to buy if you wanted to spend real money. But I think it's a cool way to have. I've never been someone who is like the kind of like, I need that specific skin really in games like this. I've always just been more.
But there's like abilities and like there's like different moves attached to the gear, isn't there?
No. So the move sets are all available at the start. You can always do every move. There are augments that you put on gear. So your gear levels up as you play. And each character has like 3 pieces of gear. And as you level up the gear, they gain augment slots. And then the augments might be like 30% extra damage or gain 10% more points.
Okay, so you can swap out, like if I want my scorpion spear to do something different, than what it is default, I can swap that from the game because there are like alternate abilities, right?
Well, so yes, when you make a character, when you customize the like loadout, you're selecting abilities. But as far as I've seen, they're not tied to gear. Only augments like stat boosts are, and none of that stuff matters for multiplayer at all. Like there is you cannot augment your stats. There are certain like there's augments that
local. I think you can use that stuff.
I'm not sure, but definitely an online play that's just right out. And then there are some augments like extra combat coins or whatever that get you more, because those will stay on and you can use those. But and I really don't think that there's any moves tied to gear, but I could be wrong.
Maybe I'm just thinking like if they can. I know like I've heard that Scorpion Spear, for example, is like the cosmetics can be changed, and but I thought that was also tied to like, oh well, if you have this gear equipped, then you can do this version of this move.
I don't think so. It's possible that there's different. You unlock different like meter enhancements for the attacks, but like Scorpion Spear always can be enhanced with a meter. So I don't think that it does that.
But I don't know. I'm just also I haven't played it. So, and this was like pre-release stuff that I heard that maybe I'm misinterpreting or something.
The big thing that changed with the loadout stuff from the last game, and I think maybe from Injustice 2 as well. You played that and I didn't, so I don't know. Yeah. But is in MKX, if you like, let's say you pick Aaron Black, you'll have like Outlaw and Gunslinger, and those two characters will have different special moves. In MK11, that's kind of gone. There are some presets that still look the same, but you go into the character customizer and it's like, okay, I want Scorpion to have, and I don't remember which ones are exactly editable. So, but it's like, I want Scorpion to have his port and his spear. Those are his specials. That's what I'm putting on this class. And so in that same screen is where you're picking your gear, but you're picking special moves from a list and like kind of flipping them on or off. I don't know if that's like, if it's a certain number of slots or if it's points to get them, because I know like when you play in the story, spoiler, you play a Scorpion in the story at a point.
What the fuck?
You also play a Sub-Zero. When you play a Scorpion, he only has like the spear and the port attack, where he like teleports behind them and stabs. And like other characters will have like 3 or 4 specials, but I don't know if that's a story specific thing or how that works. Cause I haven't gotten into the loadout building too much yet. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really good game. I think, I wish that every review had the asterisk of like, the studio has unhealthy labor practices. Cause I think that we should be talking about that with every studio. So I'd be remiss to not point that out. But at the same time, it's a really well-made game. And it seems really fun. It is a little weird that like, if you don't pre-order it, you have to spend $6 to get Shao Kahn, which is like,
it's like,
I thought we were past that.
Their DLC stuff, that stuff's weird. Like in MKX, like Bo Raicho or whoever was like, there are like characters in the game. Like on PC, they modded it so you could play as the characters, but they never came out, I think.
Yeah,
like,
it's strange.
Bo Raicho was in that game, but you could not play as him.
You could eventually buy him. I only know because he was in the character select screen. But I think
he was in the story.
Yeah. And that's kind of how this is too. Like Shao Kahn is in the story and is in in fights, not just a cutscene character.
Yeah.
But if you didn't he was a pre-order bonus, and if you didn't pre-order it, you have to spend $6 to get him, which is not that offensive. Like $6 when
for DLC character is whatever, but
it's fine. Yeah, a 10%
that's
Shao Kahn tax, I can live with it. But it's mostly that it's weird that it's shipped like it is day one DLC. It's very much day one DLC. It's not defensible.
He's not even DLC. He's in the game,
and he's in the menu too. And then also there's another character that it's so funny. Like I'll be careful to not spoil it because I guess to some people it would be a spoiler. But there's another character that is in the menu. And it's just they're in the menu as a silhouette, and you scroll to them and you press A on them, and it says to unlock this character's name, like it says their name. It's not like secret. Get to chapter X in the story or purchase from the store. So you can go buy them with real money or play the story for an hour and a half.
The story's good, so I don't.
And chapter 4 is not that far into the game. And also, if they did that to like in the story, it's like ooh, who is that? But because I was in the chapter that it said, I was like, well, it's clearly that character because they're like trying to make like it's secret who they are. But if you had looked at them in the menu, then you
is it just the big bad from the game?
No, it's not even a character that's worth
Stryker.
No,
it's John Cena as Stryker.
I wish that would have been fun and exciting.
Doctor.
No, it's a cool character. Like
Stryker, it's
a cool character. That at first, when I looked at the character list, I was like, oh, I thought this character was in this game. Weird. And then I realized that they were the silhouette. But it's dumb. It's silly.
Old Johnny Cage, young Johnny Cage.
No, it's.
I will never guess.
I'll tell you after we're done. Again, it doesn't
matter.
No, it doesn't matter, and I shouldn't even be. I don't even mean to build it up because it's not like it's some like.
That is very strange though.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Their DLC
that stuff is weird.
At least, with like 10 was just like what are you doing? But that was pretty egregious. Okay.
Yeah, see, like it's not even really a spoiler. It's so dumb that character is like it's like if you don't want to touch the story, you could give us $5 and then you can play as this character.
I guess there are like some like hardcore players, but like it's such a good way to get like currency to start that like, why wouldn't you just like play the story? It's like fun.
Hardcore, super hardcore with the multiplayer, so hardcore that you just don't even touch the.
Well, there are people like that with Call of Duty.
I guess there are, but
I don't think there's many people like that for. I don't know, but especially I don't know. But the mythological stuff in it is really fun. The way that they get going really quick with the time travel stuff, and they super don't care about like time paradoxes. Because it's a villain that's doing the time travel stuff, so it's very much like
interesting.
Wait, they're trying to sell this character for $6?
So I didn't actually click through the store. I don't know what they're charging.
I just looked it up and it just said, they're selling it for $6.
Yeah, it's dumb. Otherwise, like the season pass is reasonable. It's like $40, but it has 6 characters in it and then a bunch of skins.
Well, are 2 of those
No, they're not. No. Those are separate.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yay.
They're separate from the season pass.
It's so funny because there's some weird. It's like so minor that it's almost not even like I wouldn't give the game a negative review over that stuff, but it is just some sort of dumb.
Like the game can be fine and like is probably fine and like fun and I want to play it, but it's that just on the fringes, like the way they're trying to.
I really don't think that anyone.
I don't know if this is like
game because of that stuff, but it's silly.
I wonder if this is like Warner coming in and being like, okay, you got to come up with ways to make money, or if this is them.
As someone with a marketing background,
idea or
I'm sure that it's someone who is enthusiastic about the game, but not actually someone designing the game who is saying like, well, we need to hit X, Y, and Z targets. What levers can we pull to try to get some extra revenue out of this? And it becomes a very like, they're not even thinking about whether people will care or not. It's mostly like, will people spend this money? And like, I picked up Shao Kahn because like I want him in the game. So I didn't pre-order it. So I spent $6 on him. I didn't buy the combat pack with it because I want to wait and see what's in that before I will say that this is maybe a thing that isn't, it's whatever. I kind of like that it's not like here buy the ultimate edition of the game that comes with the combat pack and 4 exclusive skins because like I did not want to spend $100 on that game. So, but all that the like ultimate edition is just a game plus a season pass. So you're and it doesn't save you any money or anything. So you can safely just get the standard version. You would only need to you only buy the ultimate edition digitally anyway if you really also want the combat pack right then and there. But that I actually kind of appreciated because it didn't like Red Dead was so awful with that because it was like buy the version that comes with some extra stuff and some of it's relevant to the story and some of it's just hats, but it's $40 more.
Yeah.
And it's like not relevant to the story, but like gameplay missions. And that was like, come on. Like, just I would like to give you like $75 and play the extra missions and not buy the hats. but okay.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
that's the way the spine shatters.
I will say, I guess, just content warning for horrifically graphic violence. There's nothing like upsetting from like a specific like problematic level that I've seen at all in the game, and I don't think there will be, because MKX, it's even better. It's even more like socially conscious in the way that it portrays its characters than MKX was, and that was already a pretty, for the most part, all right game, but it is definitely very violent. There's lots of like way more blood than there has been in the past recent games. It's like instead of lots of like x-rays of bones cracking, it's like a lot of like torrents of blood shooting out of people in slow motion. So you kind of have to be okay with that. There's also a lot of like disembowelment.
I don't mind like torrents of blood, but it is like the bones cracking and the lungs being pierced. So I'm just like, oh
that happens too, but because the fatal blows don't do the x-ray stuff. The x-ray stuff happens when you do crushing blows, which are like certain conditions have to be met for those to happen. Like if you dodge a high kick and then uppercut, then you'll like crack their jaw. So, but those happen like once or twice per fight, as opposed to the x-rays that happened like multiple times per fight in MKX.
But that just the idea of what you were just saying there just sounds like very Ed Boon, knowing what I know of him as a human, where he's just very sensitive and very quiet and very sweet, but then he makes these extraordinarily violent things.
Well, like they did some cool stuff. Like the women in the game are a lot more like realistic in terms of proportions, and like and they I think they've always done a fairly good job of writing those characters, but like even more so, there's like some actually very touching stuff between like between like couples that are kind of reunited by the time shift things. That's really cool. It does a really good job of like humanizing the right characters, and not doing that with the like really awful evil characters. But yes, it is very much like the fights. It's also very funny because like there's a point at which Cassie and Sonya fight in a like training setting, not in like a they're trying to kill each other setting, and yet you can still do the like fatal blows and stuff. So there's still like Cassie's still like just like pelting her mother with bullets and things.
Hey, if we could do that to Ronda Rousey.
I don't like her. I don't know if I'm willing to go so far as
in a training capacity.
I'm doubting your commitment to the cause.
I don't feel comfortable expressing Cassie Cage type violent thoughts about that person.
Cassie Cage. I knew I loved her for a reason.
Oh, she's great.
Is Kung Jin in this game? He was in X.
He's one of the combat kids, right? No.
Yeah, he's one of the combat kids.
He was the first gay character.
Okay, yes.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I haven't seen him in the story yet. No, I don't think he is. He and Takeda are both not, or Takeda are both not in the game.
That's unfortunate, but
it is unfortunate, and it's very strange that they wouldn't be, because based on the story of MKX, like it's odd. I don't know. Like Jackie's of course in it, and she seems really relevant in the story so far. She's a major character. So it's odd that Cassie and Jackie are major characters, and Kung Jin and Takeda are just
they're going to make them DLC.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if they're that interesting from a gameplay perspective, to be honest with you. Kung Jin is, because he's got a bow. But I don't know. Takeda's
he had those like whip swords.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's pretty cool.
Did you hear that one of the guest characters might be the Terminator?
Yeah, and
I think Ash from Evil Dead was also.
Yes, Ash from Evil Dead is another one. Yeah. My rule is like, what characters am I okay seeing be fatality'd? And Ash and Terminator are two very good picks of like characters that I like, but also it would be funny to have them both perform and receive fatalities.
What video game guest character, like they've done like Kratos in the past, what video game guest character would you like to see?
Goku.
Kratos was rumored again, I think.
Goku,
one of like the 70 Gokus from
Dragon Fighters.
I'm trying to think.
You cannot fatality Goku. It's impossible.
I know it's on the tip of my tongue. Like they've got some You could pull in I don't know. I was gonna say you could pull in like Bayek from Assassin's Creed. That could be funny. But he's sort of would be generic in that game.
His fatality would just be him stabbing the guy in the throat, like yeah, right. Like I don't know. Yeah.
I would say like a 2B, but you know she's already shown up.
I don't think I'm comfortable with 2B getting
that would be. What about 9S?
9S maybe. That's more acceptable. 2B it's a little weird.
2A.
Yeah, I don't know. Kratos again, like you could do Kratos again, and that would be good to me. Because
if there's modern Kratos, sure.
Modern Kratos is fucking awesome, and he has so many different tools now.
Does Boy show up?
Boy could fatality.
Yeah. God, Boy shoots.
He just shows up and nags them to death.
I don't know, Joker.
Wait, no, okay. He chops off their head and he puts what's his face's head on their body, and then the head takes over their body. Huh?
I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, at the end of MKX, spoilers, they beat Shinnok, and like Raiden shows up in the Netherrealm with Shinnok's head. That's one of the things that's like very
Mimir.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the story is like you get a little bit of catharsis because like it's a direct follow up to MKX. So Raiden at the end, I keep saying Raiden is how you say his name in Mortal Kombat. Raiden, like has like decides that like, okay, people shit on Earthrealm forever. They've been doing it forever. Outworld and Netherrealm just keep coming here and trying to invade it. We are always diplomatic and we're always nice. So from now on, I'm going to use red lightning and I'm just going to go out and murder everyone first so they can't attack Earthrealm anymore. And it's kind of like, that's not good, but also it is a little cathartic at first because he's definitely like goes to Netherrealm and is like, all right, we're going to decimate this place because they're always bad and they're never helpful.
What if Raiden was a DLC character?
Yeah.
Or Joker.
Joker has been rumored, I think.
Or
for MKX.
Well, I'm sorry.
Or for MK11.
I'm sorry. The Joker, not Joker.
Oh, no.
I jokingly said Joker from Persona earlier as well. But no, the Joker from Injustice has been.
It's actually going to be Mario on the Switch. He's going to be Switch exclusive DLC.
Oh my God.
I will say that I would if you have a Switch and really want to play it on the Switch, like I get it, but I would buy this game on a different platform.
You need an online connection for a lot of the single player stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that's what I've seen. So yeah.
You don't necessarily need it to play it, but you need it to get the rewards. Yeah. Like you can actually cancel the server connection thing. Mm-hmm. I did that by mistake at one point. If you just hit B, it'll say, but then it comes up with a message that's like, hey, you might not get your rewards if you're not syncing to the servers. Mm-hmm. And that's just to protect, like try to protect
like there were in like previous games, you could just like cheat engine your way to like infinite currency and just unlock everything.
And I get that people don't like that that's the way it is, but like, I don't know, like that's
they gotta make money.
So anyway, it's a great game, and I recommend that people play it. I'm going to finish and do some of the towers and all that stuff. I'll probably pick up, once I've wrung a lot out of that game, I'll probably pick up Dragon Ball FighterZ on Xbox.
Finally. Well,
play with my stick.
Well, no, I guess we can't play against each other. Allison.
It wouldn't be worth your time anyway.
Allison, I don't know. I haven't played in a while. Allison, how's it going?
Good. I have two games to talk about, but the first one, both Pat and I played, so I'm actually really excited to talk about it, which is called Forager, which just came out this week on PC. I think they're porting it out to consoles soon, but as of right now, it's just PC, which is basically, I feel like it's kind of hard to describe. Because they've described it as like an idle game, which it is 100% not.
I actually think though, like the way they describe it is like the idle game you actually want to play. And to some extent, like I would put it this way. I think if you're someone who likes idle games, you'll probably really love this game. But also, if you hate idle games, don't let that, to your point, like don't let that turn you off.
Right, because it's very active. But it's the big thing I'd say with it is that it's a game that keeps expand. Like it's a game that if you really like having that kind of mechanic where you keep growing and having that sense of progression, then that's what you want with this game.
So you say the numbers keep getting bigger. So
I was going to say though that it's not that they keep getting bigger though.
It's that you have more
to do.
Like when you first start, you can basically start with just a single little island. You can mine a couple of things. You can cut down trees and just that. Whereas like as you progress, you buy more and more islands and more space. You get more and more things you can do and more things you can find, which lead to more things you can build, which lead to a skill tree where that unlocks different things that you can build. And it kind of keeps compounding on each other. So you go from like this very small, like you only have a few things to do to a much more sprawling kind of thing you're like, yeah.
That kind of sounds like 2 Point Hospital in a way.
Yeah, except that 2 Point Hospital's I mean, you played it further than I did. I only played like probably 10 hours of 2 Point, but it's one I want to get back to eventually. But like 2 Point, you're always playing a tycoon game, at least as far as I got. It doesn't like the mechanics of what you're doing don't really change.
Sure. Yeah, that remains relatively true.
Yeah, and that's not to like take anything away from it. Whereas Forager, it's like it starts out with a lot of like mining rocks and trees, but even only like an hour and a half in, it's gotten into like puzzle solving and like and then like timer management, and not in like as dry a way as it sounds either. So and then there's a lot of like you have to think about like layout a lot because. So there's like a bit of city building is, I don't want to say that too out loud.
But I mean, you want to think, okay, I'm exploring, where do I want to put my forge? Where do I want to put my market? Where do I want to put, this compared to that? Yeah. So there's like a little bit of strategy, but not very much, like very kind of casual about it. And you start but it's also one of those things too where you can kind of keep expanding in the way that you would like to expand. Like there's certainly stuff you have to unlock before you unlock other things, but for example, like when I'm playing it, I keep having like little goals in my head where it's like, okay, I'd eventually like to have, like right now, the biggest one that I wanted was a market, because one of the big ways that you get money is by literally making money. And by making, it's like you, like at the start of the game is literally like making gold or gold bars and then making those bars into money so that you can actually buy stuff. Whereas I was like, okay, I want to market because I've gotten some rarer gemstones, and I'm like, I could sell those for a decent amount, so I want to get this market. So it's like in the back of my head, it's like everything is working towards that. Plus it's like, oh, I would like to expand my backpack so I can hold more stuff. Oh, and I would also like this. And there's just like it's you kind of come up with your, like, even though there's a lot of like ways where expanding is like not linear, but there's definitely a progression that you have to follow, but you can also kind of come up with your own little goals on the way.
I would definitely, if I were to describe this game, like if you were like, what's the genre of this game? I would say it's a goal setting game for sure. That's like, that's like how I would describe it. In a weird way, this is going to sound like a strange comparison, but in a weird way, it has similarities to a thing like Warframe more than a thing like mechanically it's closer to something like a Stardew. But it is very much about like my ultimate, what I want for my end goal is to buy all of the islands, to like expand to all of the islands. So my main thing I'm going to need to do is to get money. But while you're playing it, it's so satisfying because it's like, oh, well, I should craft a backpack because then I'll have more. So I need to get fiber and I need to get whatever the other thing is. Like, it's not leather for the first one, but it's very much like, okay, well, now I want to craft a shovel. So I need to get iron and coal. So to get coal, I need to turn wood into coal. So now I need to go and get like 45 coal or 45 wood. So it gives you like these like micro tasks that all build towards a larger thing. And the verbs you're using are diverse enough that it's not just like clicking a ton. It's like, movement and resource management and mining and stuff. So it doesn't get stale to me because you're doing slightly different things every time you're embarking on a new goal.
Right. And I feel like often there might be goals to lead to different goals. So it's like management of that. Like, for example, I reached a point where all of the things I wanted to work towards needed leather, and there were no more cows that had spawned on my land.
Yeah.
So I was like, crap, I do not have enough hide to make into leather to make these things that I want. So I was going, okay, I could either sit around and wait for this, or I could hope that unlocking more land could unlock more things to kill to get more hide to make more leather. So I moved my goal to, okay, I'm going to make a lot more gold now so that I can unlock some new areas so that I can get the leather so that I can move towards the existing goal.
Yeah. And you're never stonewalled so that you don't have anything to do. Like, you never have to just wait because there's always go get more gold. Go do X, Y, or Z.
Or even just wood is always necessary. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to cut down some trees while I wait for these bricks to be finished. And I mean, in addition, like there's a lot of stuff where you're doing just kind of similar tasks, which is why I feel like this could easily become a really, really good podcast game to play while you're listening to something else. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to cut down a bunch of trees and mine a bunch of rocks and work towards X goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems good for that. And then the other stuff that's neat is you get I bought an island that was to the south, and it was there's these pillars on this island, and I can lower the pillars, but that's the only context I have. And it's almost Fez-like in that way sometimes, because I eventually figured out how to solve that puzzle.
You did? Oh shit.
Yes. Yeah. It's very abstract. I think that I don't think I brute forced it. I think I figured out how to do it, but
okay, good. Because I was pushing down all these pillars, and I was like, am I missing something?
It's all about the shape of the symbols. And the order you press them in is a logic puzzle.
Okay.
So there's that kind of, and then there's also Zelda dungeons that pop up eventually, where you go into the dungeon and you do some puzzle solving and run around some mazes, and the tile set looks like Zelda.
And then also there's a museum that you can go to where you fill out bundles in Stardew Valley of stuff that you've collected and crafted.
And later on in the tech tree from the Steam page, it looks like there's you can build NPC armies that you use to then go around and fight big battles and stuff. It has a lot of interesting stuff in it. And it's very much it's a big diamond of you can go in this direction or this direction or this direction with the sort of stuff you're doing, whether it's get really into farming or get really into the city management part of it, which again, I don't want to be too, it's not like you're playing SimCity or anything. But it's a fascinating game. I think it makes sense that it's going so well. And also it's a cool story. I don't know if you looked at this, Allison, but there's an extras menu at the main menu.
I looked a little bit at that, and yeah.
It's really neat. The first extra you unlock is a little comic kind of thing of the developer sort of telling the story of the game's development all the way back to when, he was in elementary school and he wanted to make games and he wasn't very good in school. And he was always focused on this other thing, and he didn't do well. And then talks about how like his dad passed away, but told him like, you know, if you chase your dreams, you can do it or whatever. And it's the real story of the game's development. And he talks about like his whole path to being from like a kid to getting a publishing deal from Humble Bundle. And it's neat. And
Absolutely.
They seem like very earnest creators, the people behind this game. It doesn't seem like, you know, in a few months you will find out that they're horrible people. At least I hope not.
God, I hope not, because I feel like this is definitely going to be a game that I'm going to stick with, because it is my new podcast game.
What if the developer took off his mask and it was actually Ronda Rousey?
Oh God. That would be you know, honestly, I wouldn't like her, but it would improve my opinion of her like ability to do things.
Are you saying she's a DMB?
As it stands, she hasn't really done anything good except for fight for a while. So,
and WrestleMania would posit she's barely even good at that.
Well, she's not very good at wrestling.
She's not a good actor.
She's not good at pretend fighting. She was good at real fighting for a bit.
I know people who would say she's not even good at real fighting. She's just like a gimmick. Well, which, you know, I don't watch the UFC, so I can't say, but I have a friend who should go to Buffalo Wild Wings with her mom and grandma, and they'd watch the fights. Not a fan of Ronda Rousey.
People didn't like her because she would end fights very quickly, because she's very good at specific. I would say that she was very skilled at fighting, in that she could do that one thing very well and no one knew how to do it. But once people figured that out, she was done. Anyway,
kind of like Hungry Box and Smash Bros. And his Jigglypuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but Melee is dead. So,
and also speaking of things that cover a wide, extensive, broad range of genres, Allison, what's the other one you touched?
Oh, I've also put a few hours into the new SteamWorld game, which is SteamWorld Quest: Hand of Gilgamesh. Have you guys played any of the SteamWorld games? I think we talked about Dig 2.
I've played all of them.
I tried fighting for Dig 2 in our very first Game of the Year awards because I love that game.
Yeah, I think I remember that because I was like, because that's a good game.
I think I was on your side, and if I wasn't then I apologize, because
it's so good.
I was that 2 years ago. I thought that was last year.
No, that was 2 years ago.
I never touched those games.
Oh, they're so good.
They're very good. And the thing that I think is really interesting is that they basically, at this point, are just doing like, let's just do a different genre of game, because why not? Because SteamWorld Quest is an RPG. It's basically, the combat is card based. So it's turn based with like a card deck building system. So you can
chain of memories. Yes,
exactly. Except it's turn based. So not. No. Yeah, so basically you have, with all of your characters, there's a lot of different like kind of basic strategy that is really satisfying with it, where basically instead of having any sort of like a mana or magic system as a different thing from health, you have to build up to more advanced skills with this shared meter, basically. So for example, you might want, if you want to do this stronger attack, you have to precede it with 2 smaller attacks, but it can be done by anyone. But then also, if all three of your attacks come from the same person or robot in this case, you have a special bonus. But also you have like this deck building that you have to get into, and there's a randomness, but you can redraw cards twice a turn. So while it's random, it's still there's an element of strategy in the deck, in the drawing of the deck as well. So as the turn-based battling goes, it's actually really interesting. But one of the things that I'd say is the most notable, and is probably the most notable about the series, is that it is just a charming as hell series. Yeah. It is very aesthetically, I like the aesthetics a lot, and the just the vibe of it is really, really nice. The characters so far are really charming. They're robots like in all the SteamWorld games, but since it's an RPG, it allows you to really stick with a larger with characters. So right now I have 3 people in my party. Galileo, Armely, and why am I blanking on her name? Copernica. And they're all just like very unique, but all very, very sweet. So it's really fun because like there have been some really good writing in the previous SteamWorld games, but this really allows you to stick with multiple characters and.
Well, and I assume the volume of writing is higher because so much of SteamWorld is like you're in the mine, you're below the ground. So like,
right,
you go back to town and there'll be a little bit of dialogue and then you're back at it. So like, there's less like, it's not really an RPG in the same sense. And SteamWorld Heist is kind of like that too, in that it's it's a XCOM kind of thing. So there isn't as much story and writing in it from what I've played of it.
Right. And the story so far feels pretty straightforward. I mean, like, sure, yeah. I'm only like 2 hours into it, so it could very, very well go an interesting way. But but so far, just the fact that it's an RPG does allow for a lot more of the charming writing to come through. It's
interesting. Its mechanics look similar, and I'm sure it's got differences, but its mechanics look really similar to Slay the Spire. And
I haven't played that, and I really want to. So
it's interesting that there's 2 other games that also have deck building, like trading card game kind of combat that are party-based RPGs. So it's interesting that like, and none of them seem like the sort of thing that like they came out as a response to Slay the Spire. All of these games had to have been in development while Slay the Spire was in development, because Slay the Spire only came out like 8 months ago or something like that. Like it hasn't been out for years. So I think it's interesting that like a lot of people seem to all at once have gotten that idea, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. And I think it's really nice because I do like a good turn-based game if it has a certain, I don't know how to describe it, like a certain twist to it, I guess. Like Octopath Traveler, for example, where I feel like that it's dynamic enough that even though it's turn-based, it still allows for a certain amount of strategy, but it's rarely just, press attack 5 times and then the encounter is done. And this is similar, where it's like even the more basic encounter still requires a certain amount of strategy that make it a lot more fun.
I'm off a little bit too. Slay the Spire entered early access in the end of 2017, so it has been a bit. So it could be that these games are drawing from it, but it's still interesting that that kind of concept like barely existed, and now all of a sudden there's like several games that use the like RPG with card game mechanics.
Maybe I just need to get Slay the Spire now, but
Slay the Spire is incredible. I need to play through it more because it hit full release in January, and there's a very good chance that could be in a year-end conversation for me personally, because it's a spectacular game.
You know.
Yeah, but if you've enjoyed it's interesting to say that if you've enjoyed the previous SteamWorld games that you'd enjoy this, because it is again very, very different. But if you just like the environment and the aesthetic, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. And I feel like if you take a look at just the trailer or even just a little bit of the gameplay, you can probably get a sense for if this is going to hit you or not.
Also, yeah, it's only on Switch, which is an interesting thing too. Interesting to know.
I think that the SteamWorld games have actually done really, really well on Nintendo consoles.
Oh yeah, they're made perfectly for it.
Yeah, and I think that it's part of I think that the first SteamWorld got its start on 3DS.
It was on. Yeah. It might have even been before 3DS. It might have been a like the original DS game.
No,
Late in that system's lifetime for sure, but
it started on 3DS.
yeah, you're right. It was 2013. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like with some of these indie games, I feel like they've done really, really well on Nintendo consoles, like especially like the Switch.
And they actually, I forgot how they always come out first on the Nintendo console. SteamWorld Dig 2 is the only one that came out roughly the same time on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets ported to something else later. But it seems like a really great game for Switch, so I'm not going to complain.
If it's anything like the Dig and Heist, it will come out on other platforms in a year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you've got Switch, give it a shot.
Cool.
Then I have played I've just played a little bit of several things, so nothing really to talk about, but Alex brought it up earlier. There was an update for Kingdom Hearts 3, which put in the critical mode, which is another difficulty mode, which is above proud mode, which was like the hardest difficulty when it came out. So now there's like super hard mode, Sora must die mode or something,
So what does it do? Does it make you more fragile?
It's increased difficulty. But increased health on enemies, probably increased damage from enemies, that kind of stuff. I haven't played it because I was going to go into it New Game Plus, and I was like, oh, well, I should get Ultimate Weapon before I do New Game Plus. And holy shit, is the fucking process for getting Ultimate Weapon so bad.
I've heard it's quite the grind.
Like, I did everything in Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PS2, like everything. So like I'm used to like the grind in Kingdom Hearts games, but like some of the stuff they want you to do is one of the things is to get one of the items you need to craft Ultimate Weapon. You need to get postcards from the Moogle shops. And then you send the postcard. There's only one place where you can use the postcards, which is in one of the worlds. And so you send the postcards and you get a random prize back. Not like a series of prizes, like, oh, send in 5 postcards and get this, send in 10, get this, send in 50 and you get the thing or whatever. No, it's random. Every time you send in a postcard, you get a random item back.
Oh, God. That sounds terrible.
That's really bad.
And you need, if that's how you get one of the items to make Ultimate Weapon, is by sending in postcards.
To be honest with you, that sounds kind of par for the course to me, but it's not good.
So like, but so I go to this world and there's right next to the mailbox is a Moogle where you buy the stuff. So you go into the Moogle, you buy a potion, you go out and you hope you get a postcard, which is maybe like a 25 to 50% chance somewhere in there. And then you send the postcard. I go, okay, just got some like potion, or I got like a refocuser. So they keep doing that over and over and over. I'm like, oh, my inventory's full of potions. Got to sell my potions now for 25% back. So the potion's 40, and you sell it for 10. And like at the end of the game, like money doesn't matter really, but like it's so bad. It's just so bad. Why would they do this? And then like apparently I think it was last night there was like a Kingdom Hearts concert in Japan, and then at the end of the concert Tetsuya Nomura came out and was like, hey, DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, but they didn't have like a trailer. He just showed a PowerPoint.
That's great. And, oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Wow.
And I wish I had been there.
So it's what is it called? I have a news story up here. It's Kingdom Hearts 3 Premium DLC Mind, capital R, lowercase e, capital Mind, is coming soon, according to Polygon, but they didn't give a date. And that is supposed to be like the final mix equivalent of the game.
So they're going to sell it as DLC?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And it's going to extra episodes and content and bosses and stuff, I guess. There's also like a new Keyblade coming.
Cool.
Which is free. And something else maybe. A secret boss. Yeah.
It's so odd because Square Enix usually has very clear and concise and definitely not at all complicated DLC and update systems.
Boy.
It's just, yeah, it's, so yeah, they're multiple things announced last night or something. But so I guess I'm not going to play Critical Mode or New Game Plus now until that comes out.
They have a conference at E3 this year, don't they? Like a press
They
conference?
are doing the Sony time slot, the old Sony time slot.
Yeah,
is I think what I heard.
So do you think that will have the trailer that is not just a PowerPoint presentation?
I mean, it must, but
I don't know that. I bet that presentation is going to be
it's Quiet Man
bleak.
2, baby.
It's going to be bleak. There's going to be a lot of Hitman content in that on that stage. I bet.
Oh, that'd be
Well,
hey, nothing wrong with that.
I mean, the Hitman content we already know about. We saw the roadmap. I bet it's going to be a lot of.
Well,
I bet you're going to get a walkthrough of one of that level.
Who is the new elusive target or like new celebrity elusive target? Do you think they do another one? Like there's
Glenn
Gary
Close.
Busey, Glenn Close. Okay, Alex.
I don't know.
Oh wait, no, they wouldn't even be at Square. So we wouldn't see Hitman at Square. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
I was gonna say that.
Oh right, what am I saying? They're not a thing. They're
They're
not
their
a
own
thing anymore.
thing.
Duh.
I was trying to look up who they were owned by at this point, but I think they're just independent, right?
They just have a publishing deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, right. What am I saying? Sorry.
Agent 47 in Mortal Kombat.
Oh my god,
I would.
that
be
would be
fine with
great. Because
He
then
would just garrote someone's head off for his fatality.
he would just dress up as buddy. I mean, they already kind of have that.
He kills them and then he takes their clothes and he puts it on.
Yeah, but he dresses up, but like still looks like 47, just like with dumb hats.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
Scorpion with a barcode on the back of his head.
Tomb Raider is probably going to show up at the Square conference.
I know, not yet.
Really?
No,
Well,
In some
yeah, that's
capacity,
fair.
I bet you DLC will or something. They talked about that there's more coming. They already have said, they've already confirmed that.
That game was middling. Like they set up to do more Tomb Raider, but I don't think they're going to for a while because like
They talked about it recently though, that they're already going.
But how really? Because then they're gonna say, "Oh, it didn't meet our expectations again." But like basically, the end of their so I think I talked about this. There's like an ending, like a post credits ending, and that they patched after the game came out. So it's different. Like if you have like the 1.0, it's different than like whatever got patched. That basically leads directly into the original Tomb Raider.
So
What?
Yeah, like the end of the most recent Tomb Raider, because it's a prequel. So there was like a post-credit scene that basically set up the first Tomb Raider game from the PS1.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool. As someone who likes those old Tomb Raider games,
scenario.
Will Life is Strange 2 show up?
Maybe
to imagine
like the third episode.
Yeah.
I don't think that's come out. I still haven't played the second episode. I should do that this week.
It hasn't. That came out in like January too. Like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Also, the only thing that was announced was the movie, the next Tomb Raider movie. That's what I was mixing it up with.
I thought I heard that the last DLC for Tomb Raider came out recently, and it wasn't very good.
Octopath Traveler PC.
Yeah,
probably.
Like, are they going to do like a enhanced, like more stuff? Maybe, I don't know. But
I don't know. Allison, you're the resident Octopath Traveler fan. What would you want added, if anything?
Oh boy.
Make the characters actually interact.
I
Then I would actually finish that game.
They added like a short, or like not a short, but like a 10-20 hour like thing where they actually did interact. That would be pretty sweet.
No, they don't have to do that. They just have to change the game as it is to make the characters interact in the existing stories. That's what they should do.
I feel like that'd be a lot harder than just adding a 10-hour like, hey.
Well, they should have made the game the right way the first time.
Here's their press conference. They show a montage of all the games that came out last year, which is like 3, I think.
And they're all coming to Switch.
And they'll
over and over.
mention the platforms that they're coming to. And then they will do like 20-minute segment on Final Fantasy 14, and like
I think there's new DLC coming for that.
There's new DLC coming for that every month and a half. So
but I think there's like a big thing.
I'm telling you, as someone who has followed that game, there's a new big thing in that game like every 6 months.
that Yoko Taro is working on something for that game.
Yes. So there'll be, I bet I'm serious. I bet that'll be a significant chunk of their thing. And I don't know what else they'll have, but I bet the last thing will be they'll finally have a CG trailer for that FF7 remake. And it won't be anything gameplay oriented, and we still won't see that thing for another 2 or 3 years, but they'll have some. It's
just going to be the snowboarding game.
Also, can we just say though that what should happen is they should announce a new Legacy of Kain. That's what should happen.
That's you're stealing my predictions.
That's what I want to see happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Amy Hennig, I think, is already working on something though.
Yeah,
so
I think
I
think they confirmed that she's not going to be in that anyway.
Well, yeah, she's got her own company or she's doing something.
I honestly don't know that you make a new Legacy of Kain without her. So I don't know.
Who knows?
New Parasite Eve.
People there sound like they want to make it. So
let me pitch you on this Valkyrie Profile.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Yes, Valkyrie Profile is the one I want to play, not Valkyria Chronicles, which I always think is Valkyrie Profile.
No.
Fuck yeah. They put it out the PS1 on phones, but a new one. Yeah.
New Tactics Ogre.
How about new Sleeping Dogs? Even though
I don't
United
think
Front is dead.
It's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
United Front is dead.
Happen,
Unfortunately,
but man, Sleeping Dogs was a good game.
That studio got shut down, didn't it?
Sleeping Dogs is better than any Grand Theft Auto game. I'm just gonna say it.
Sleepy Dogs.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Good.
That's so good.
It made me want to go eat every single food item in that game because
Hong Kong.
Don't play Yakuza, but do play Yakuza.
Definitely play Yakuza. I got my Steam Link working. I don't know why it wasn't working, but now it finally works, so I can play PC games on my TV.
Hell yeah!
And I don't know what I'm going to play, but I should beat Sekiro. But I'm not going to do that over the Steam Link. I tried yesterday, and it's not terrible latency, but it's just enough where it's not quite right.
Sekiro seems like it'd be rough with that.
It ran well enough, but it's just. And also I hadn't played in a week, so maybe that was part of it, but it's just not quite.
I actually really like the Steam Link. I've never had any problems with latency because the games I played on it have always been Alan Wake and stuff that's very we're playing, it's like an adventure game, but Sekiro seems like it would not be great if you introduce any latency into that.
I'm so close to the end, man. I'm so close.
That's after I get through all the Kingdom Hearts stuff, I'm going to go back and hammer on that some more.
Maybe I'll go back to Below.
I have had no desire to play Below since I had one bad experience with it. So
I died on floor 17, and it's a dark floor with many creepy tendrils.
Yep.
And
that game,
there's no way back up, so I can only go down, but I'm near the bottom.
Well, I played it for 6 hours, and then I died on floor 16, and it was done. There's no way for me to get my stuff back at all.
Oh,
and I was everything was because I had spent all my I had brought a bunch of my resources and stuff. So I lost everything.
Oh, I don't have a problem with the restocking or whatever before I go back down. Cause the first floors are not super difficult. And then I've got enough shortcuts that I can just get to the bottom. I think it was the amount of progress you could lose from dying was the thing that was frustrating to me. Yeah. Absolutely. What I heard about not explicitly, but I heard about what the kind of end game, so to speak, of it is. Not like Avengers Endgame, but what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And so apparently you can just be doing what you need to be doing from the very start, but you won't know what it is until you get to the bottom. That's kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe someday I love the way that game looks and the atmosphere of it. So maybe someday I'll play it again. So I've had enough time between me and it where I'm maybe I should get back to that. But because it's cool. And the sense of discovery is really neat. and like getting to the bottom or like going down and being like, what the fuck is this?
Since it didn't really hit, it's not like pervasive. Like it's not like I feel like I still don't know a lot about that game.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I don't know anything other than what I just said and what I experienced myself.
Yeah, even vaguely avoiding spoilers on Sekiro, I feel like I know a lot about what happens in Sekiro, even just kind of like through osmosis and not even trying to find it out. But that didn't happen with Below, which is kind of cool.
I installed Path of Exile, but
okay. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna open up your Steam and you're gonna scroll to the P in your game library. And you're gonna right click the first thing there and then click on install.
Painkiller, Hell and Damnation.
Oh no.
What's wrong with Path of Exile? It's great. It's a time sink, but it's great.
It's such a.
I only installed it because Final Fantasy 14, the code that I was given from Twitch Prime with my Japanese account is only for the Japanese version, which is all in Japanese, which is not going to go well. And then, we also had some stuff for Path of Exile, and Alex says it's a game, so I was like, I can't spend money right now.
It's not that it's a bad game. I guess you'd have to spend money for it, but Grim Dawn is so much better and more rewarding, in my opinion. And
I could play the PS4 version of Path of Exile. That came out this year.
Path of Exile it just is a never-ending spiral staircase down that doesn't have a bottom floor. Like you never get to there's no point at which it changes or really gets
just like life.
Dog though.
Yeah, I know.
Just like life. Just like a never-ending spiral staircase down, this podcast is now into a spiral down.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's never-ending. It's like this podcast is our life now.
No, it has to end. I have stuff I got to do.
My friends, somebody started podcasting, but nobody knew quite what it was. I don't know how that song goes.
Perfect.
It's a podcast that never ends. Okay, well, that is going to do it for episode 67 of Gaming Fix, where we talk about video games. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on all major podcast distributors, wherever fine podcasts are sold. Please leave a review while you're downloading our podcast, and if you like it, if you don't like it, either way, leave a review so people can
and leave a positive review, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. Just leave the most glowing review. It will really ruin our day if you didn't like it.
1-star reviews, people, if you're gonna be negative, at least be constructive.
I never understand the 1-star reviews that are like not on podcasts but on online marketplaces that are like shipping took 2 extra days, 1 star.
Oh man, I was looking at Metacritic, people giving like basically I was looking at one person, all the reviews were 0 or 10. Like what the fuck?
There's no nuance.
People like that are who ruined the rating system on Netflix.
God of War was a 0. I think Red Dead was a 10.
Oh boy,
that's just a strange cross section of things.
I can't. Those were two. Like what? So yeah, don't be like those people. Well, maybe I don't know. Just give us a review. Be constructive with your feedback, please.
Let's just hope we're a Red Dead and not a God of War.
Maybe go check out that Avengers movie. That was actually pretty good time.
Yeah, we'll probably have a spoiler cast about that at some point, right?
We will, yes. Once we can.
It was mostly a good movie.
Can get people.
We can't do it now.
Not now.
I have hot takes about it, but yeah.
I don't think it's that hot.
I'll be there, and I don't like Marvel movies. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Alex will be there with the spiciest takes. Alex, where can people find you and your spicy takes?
You can find me at alex-jelena.com, which is a newly revamped website that has a GitHub repo.
You've been letting me say your name so wrong for so long.
Yeah. That's how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it. I've heard it every way. Don't worry. I've heard people basically call it genitals as well. So like it's, I'm not particularly sensitive about it.
Given our Pornhub preference,
I have asked you. Is that correct?
I think because there's no accents over anything in like in the methods at which I ever see your name. That's why I assumed it was just the way that Andre says it.
Yeah, it traditionally has an accent aigu on the E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now you know.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
No. I was thinking about doing the wrong way to say my name to follow suit, and the only ways I could come up with are not. They're funny, but only to me. You can find me at Jester PC. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, Allison, where can people find you?
Well, if you pronounce my last name in the traditional Polish, you pronounce it Cygan, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it in the actual Polish way, so I just pronounce it Cygan, like a chump. But you can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. I haven't spoiled Endgame yet, I don't think, but I might have some spicy hot takes there later.
And you can find me on Twitter at coolslaw COOLSL4W, where I don't know, my takes are relatively mild, but fuck James Comey and his scab labor. It's my hot take.
What?
James, I'll send you a tweet, but
yeah,
it's that my 5 jobs thing, and he just admits to being scab labor.
Oh.
So what the fuck?
Don't be a scab. That's
Comey already sucks, but damn. He's so proud of it. Anyway, we'll see you here next week at some time. Maybe not the same time, maybe earlier, but I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
Nobody knows the podcast times to come.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.